episode of Recharging the Human Battery Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Stefano Sinicropi, your friendly orthopedic spine surgeon / integrative health specialist / just trying to help the world to heal. We're on AM 950 radio, and we just there is so much to talk about. That's going on, and I know that a lot of you are in a bad mental place because there's so many things going on, especially those of us that that are in Minnesota. You know how chaotic things have been, and it doesn't matter kind of what your mindset is or what side of the aisle you're on. There has been not much positivity going on here in our state in the last 4 months, and so it's just been escalating and escalating and escalating, and unfortunately we're in a bad place. So I want to spend the time today not talking about that stuff, because I know a lot of you guys are exhausted, and this is the last thing that everybody needed, right? Because all I talk about is how I have an office filled with people that are unhappy, they have pain, they have all these chronic diseases, they have mental health issues, they have spiritual health issues, and every time that we have these kind of other traumas hitting us from all angles, it just adds it just adds insult to injury. It's really a tough world to go by. I actually got asked yesterday by my assistant on whether on why I chose the title "Wellness at the Speed of Light" for my podcast and my book. Well, we're moving at the speed of light. I think that's contributing to our dis-ease, our unease. It's just a hard, world to live in. And so then when we have these other traumas and anxieties thrown on top of it, it goes even worse. So I'm here to tell you, though, we're going to talk about what's going on, not about the events of what's going on, but the fact that despite whatever is happening in the world around us, we still have to continue to go back to thinking about the way that we frame the world, the way that we interpret the world, because it's not really, necessary. Of course, we can't control everything that happens to us, but we certainly can control the way that we think and feel about it. And obviously, my passion is keeping you guys physically well, mentally well. And if we lose focus on ourselves because we start focusing on all these other external events that are going on all around us, we're just going to you just kind of get lost, right? It's just like, if you have a mission, say, hey, I want to help with this mission or that mission, or I feel like, these people are being, persecuted, or, you're a big animal lover and you want, to make a difference as far as like animals in the Arctic or whatever. That's great. We should all have things that we're focused on, but that then shouldn't say, oh, I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of my family because there's too many bad things going on in the world, so I'm just going to fall apart, because then we're good for no one. We're literally good for no one. So in this episode, again, there's just a lot. I just feel your pain, right? And that's really what led me to go down this road. I just kind of feel people's pain, and I want to be a vessel to try to help you go through that. So in today's, episode, I'm going to go back to, again, first principles, our mentality, how we're approaching our health, our wellness, our, especially, our mental health and how we frame things in our life, because that is going to make a difference between living a robust life that we are really enjoying or just being plain old miserable. And I just be honest, I'm sick of seeing people miserable. It's like I can't enjoy it. Like now I'm going to say the opposite way. I can't enjoy my life if I see so many people that are miserable. So my goal is to really help with solutions, to give you guys as much, kind of truth and background and experience as I can pour out of my own heart for you guys. And then hopefully you can take that, and if it can make a little tiny dent, even if it's to one person listening to this today, then I can relax a little bit more and try to enjoy my own personal free time. Because I'm taking on all your weight, and I want to help you to get through it. So on the other side of the break, we're going to go back to first principles. We're going to talk about the disease that's going on in our country and some mental strategies to help you guys really frame your world to make things a better place. We'll see you on the other side. back to AM 950 Radio. This is Recharging the Human Battery. I'm your host, Dr. Sinicropi, and I'll tell you, as always, I'm fired up. I started this segment, just talking about, there's so much unease going on, and this then, plays into disease. We happen to be in Minnesota. There's a lot of all kinds of stuff going on, right? I don't have to tell you, I don't have to rehash anything that we're going through here. I've done some posts on, on social media, and I really did enjoy your comments, by the way. But that being said, this unease with the way we see the world, with current events, with what's going on with you and your families and this and that, I mean, it can lead to disease, right? Remember, only 5% of genetic, your gene, only 5% of the diseases that befall us are related to absolute fixed genetic issues. 95% of the genes, it's about epigenetics. It's about how our environment and our thoughts and just kind of the way we perceive the world is going to turn those genes on and off. And that includes lifestyle, the lifestyles we lead, especially the foods we put in our mouth, the toxins that we're around. I mean, we've talked about this stuff, ad nauseum for such a long, period of time on this show. And those all contribute to turning on those genes. That is the science of epigenetics. And and I'm going to tell you a true story about healing. I'm going to wait for a second because I'm going to set the stage, but it just is, we can say it is a miracle. We can say it is the universe speaking. It is a story that I told recently at a conference, and I can't even tell you how many people said that they were moved to tears. In fact, I had some people come and take pictures with me because they were literally crying and took pictures of me because they were so moved by this story, because it shows what is possible with intention, with the way that we lead our lives and the way that we think and we frame things. So, all right, why am I so kind of upset about what I'm seeing? Okay, I'm going to rehash this. I know you guys have heard some of it before, but you know what? When I keep repeating stuff, maybe you'll start repeating it because it needs to be repeated. So, we live in a country of opulence and wealth. I know some of you don't feel like it, but I want you to really think about, go on Google, go on, ChatGPT, whatever your favorite AI thing is, and ask, put your income in there, no matter what it is. If you're in the U.S., right? If you're working or you're getting medical assistance, whatever it is, put it in there and say, where do I fit, right? When it comes to the 8 billion people on the entire population. You're going to be surprised to how high on the food chain you are, even if you're sitting there right now thinking about how broke you are and how bad things are. It, can always be worse. So anyway, we live in this country. We've got all of this money. We're spending billions of dollars on defense and this, and there's just money sloshing around all over but we spend a ton of money on healthcare. A ton of money. So if you look at overall healthcare expenditure, I used to quote 4.4 trillion. It's probably between 4.7 and 4.9 trillion dollars spent annually on sick care. Sick care. Okay, 90% of it is sick care. Maybe 10% is preventive care. Bottom line is, we spend a ridiculous amount of money on healthcare. It's ridiculous. But yet, right, every chronic disease is on the rise. I know I've repeated this. I'm going to keep it. Autoimmune diseases are skyrocketing, right? Depression, off the charts. Childhood obesity, regular obesity. You want to fill something in? The answer is, if you say, hey, if you just called in right now, hey, is this disease getting worse? Probably yes. Well, let's just go with yes. Yes, lung cancer has come down because we've banned, cigarette ads and things things like that. But other than that, we're not going anywhere. Our life expectancy in the United States has really plateaued, which is really shocking. Although there are a lot of, how excited I am about the potential for longevity down the road. So we're just on the precipice of making some really good strides in that. But again, something is wrong, right? We're just doing all these things, and here we are, and I'm trying to use good language. It's hard for me because I'm so passionate about this particular thing, but we really are in a bad place. right now. And that's really what's drawn me, to do the speaking and the book and the podcast and all these other things, because I keep getting asked, why are you doing it? Well, I'm upset. I can't deal with this stuff. It's really hard because there are ways to make, lives better. One of the things that we, have to really, focus on, we focused before on the pillars of lifestyle, right? Your eating, exercise, movement, sleep, psychological, all these different, things. But framing, like, how are we thinking about these things? Why is it so hard to break into the mindset of Americans? I have this discussion all the time. I just don't get it. I even have it with doctors, right? I literally sit sometimes in the doctor's lounge. I see people that are unwell, and I have like deep conversations with them. I was like, is this what you want to do with your life? Do you want to live this way? And it's a little different, right? I'm like, you literally trained all your youth to become a physician. You've got this great practice. You're seeing all these patients, and yet you look terrible. You feel terrible. You're miserable. But yet even those people, I'm trying to, and I'm not trying to preach to them. I'm trying to have a conversation with them about their health, their wellness, like making changes, doing stuff. And people will listen to me now because they know this is kind of my thing, and this is what I do and what I talk about. And obviously I counsel a lot of doctors and all kinds of, professionals, on this thing. I cannot tell you how hard it is from a mental standpoint to break through to people, right? I talk to them about, hey, you could try this or you could try that, or this biohacking, or how about this diet or this supplementation, or how about trying this thing, or stem cell therapies or whatever. And the first response, this is a response. I was just talking to another doctor the other day, and he's like, that's exactly the response he gets because he's a wellness doctor. And the first response is, that does nothing. And these are from people that are educated. These are the people that are giving you, advice. So I'm trying to give them advice on their own personal health, not telling you what to do with your patients, them, like trying to help them. And I try to tell them stuff, and they're like, that does nothing, or nah, that's not going to work. I say, well, do you want me to send you studies? Do you want to talk about it? Nah, that does nothing. That's just voodoo. They're making up. And meanwhile, they're over there, feeling, awful. And I'm coming from a standpoint of somebody that is a big biohacker and has these clinics and just obsessed with this stuff and trying to help people, helping myself, helping my family, and they still don't want to listen. So the reason I say all that is because I'm not picking on the audience here that's listening to this. I'm not picking on you. I'm telling you, this is a pervasive psychological break in I don't know what it is, but there is something that is preventing us from flipping over, to the next level. I don't know if people don't believe that it's possible that they can reverse whatever's going on. I don't know if they're distracted by events that are going on either in their personal lives, in the world, whatever, where that they're just so caught up in that. I don't know what it is, but I'll say this. Chris Williamson has a great quote, and it says most people are addicted to the anxiety of their potential. They're just anxious about everything, right? We're just anxious. And so instead of doing things that can kind of fill the bucket of health and wellness and taking care of ourselves, they fill it with things like scrolling on social media all day, doing things that have no value, that are not going to improve their lives in any way. I mean, think about yourselves. I mean, I do it too. How many things do you, how many parts of the day do you not, do things that are productive? And when I say productive, I'm not saying you have to do research or you have to do these deep things. I mean, literally just sitting there doing breath work will make a huge impact in your lives. Meditating, recreational activities, walking in a beautiful, nature setting, things like that, things that we know are healthy for our brains, healthy for us, instead of sitting there, doing the doom scrolling stuff, right? Looking at stuff. Sometimes, when you're looking at social media, sometimes you just take a moment. I put a reminder on your phone that just stops you, when you're 10 minutes in, and says, what the hell am I looking at right now? And then you look at it and you think to yourself, how is this relevant to anything? How does this help anything, anybody, for any reason? And most of the times it doesn't. It's just you're trying to fill a huge bucket with garbage. and then it's crazy. Now some people try to fill it, right, instead of taking care of their health and their wellness, and this might be true of a lot of professionals too, and might be true of you. You try to fill it with material stuff, right? And these are buckets. That's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. You can put all the material stuff you want in there. There's just going to be a hole. That's not going to fill that anxiety, right? Like that addiction to the anxiety. The way to fill that is by taking care of ourselves, taking care of our bodies, taking care of our minds. Then the anxiety will slow down, it will improve, and our health will improve, and then we can be good, for other people. So what I'm really trying to do is really craft messages. This is really part of things I'm working through as I'm speaking to just different, types of people, like, plans on going and speaking at lots of schools, between inner city schools, but then speaking to like very wealthy schools, speaking to, audiences of all kinds. I'm really trying to figure out psychologically what is the barrier that is creating a society that is so rich but yet so sick, both physically and mentally simultaneously. This is literally, and again, I'm just talking here. These aren't things I prepare about. I'm just telling you, I work through it. Doing episodes like this, doing all the other things that I do, it helps me to work out how I can help people best. How can I really take things from what others are saying, and then translate it into helping you to overcome so many different, issues that we have. And so I try to incorporate my own stories that, I went through, from childhood, other people's stories, and then just put that, all together into a way that can help you and your families get control, back over your life. It's hard to make change. Okay, it's hard to make change. I know you're anxious. I know that a lot of you are depressed. But honestly, the power of intention, the power of belief that you're going to heal, that you can heal, the power of hope can take us to places that are unbelievable. And the amount of healing that I've seen, radical healing, I'm going to get to that in a second, radical healing is incredible. And I want to share a story with you now that completely changed my life. And so if you guys are out there now listening to me on this big rant, right, you're like, well, where are you going? Well, where I'm going is sit down, think about your lives, think about how you perceive the world, think about how you perceive your condition right now. And then think about, are you using positive thoughts, negative thoughts? Are you hopeful for the future? Do you have a purpose? Do you have a why? Do you have a reason for today? I mean, you're listening to this right now, right? So do you have a reason for today? When you start framing the world in this way and you start having intention and belief, people behind you, and just focusing on yourself so that you can help others better, then amazing things can happen. All right, so let's get to this one. So there's a patient of mine. This is way back in the day. This is early on in my career, and I've been talking about this. Like I said, I just did it in a talk. I was just on a podcast yesterday, and we were talking about this. And so I had a lady. She was an executive from the West Coast. So she came and saw me because she had some family here in Minnesota. So she would go back and forth, and she comes and sees me in the clinic. And for those guys that know me and even listening to this radio show, I talk a lot. And I love to talk, and I love to get into people's stories and make what makes you tick, learn from them, whatever. So we had this amazing conversation, right? She's telling me about like being an executive in the film industry in Hollywood and all this cool stuff. I'm into it. I'm dialed in. Apparently, at some point during this conversation, she tells me or my staff or someone, because there's a lot going on, they kept bothering me, you're going over, and she tells us that she doesn't want to have any human bone products put into her body, okay? Of course, I don't write this anywhere. No one writes this anywhere. She doesn't tell anybody on the day of her surgery when she comes in. So I'll just tell you. So this lady, she had a bad car accident, decides to come back to Minnesota because she wants to have it treated in our state, comes and sees me, has a big disc herniation in her neck, disabling pain, can hardly move her shoulder, just writhing in pain. So it was nice to have a nice conversation with her because we took her mind off of that. We were just kind of talking shop for quite a bit of time. Regardless, this lady has devastating, debilitating pain. It's a no-brainer. She's a surgical candidate. So we take her to the operating room. She signs all her consent. She does everything. Doesn't write one thing on the form. Not a thing about, hey, I don't want this. Because we have a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, obviously. We take that really seriously. So we have to consent people for blood products and this and that. So she signed off, yes, she'll have the blood products, but doesn't put a little thing, no bone products from humans. Okay, no cadaver bone. Doesn't tell one word. Trust me, we went back to look. Nothing. So I do the surgery on her. Everything goes well. She wakes up. Her pain is already better, like post-op day 1. She's happy. She leaves. All good. Just another routine surgery. So she comes back in for her first post-operative visit. So she sees my physician assistant, Jacob, and so she's there and she's happy and he's talking to her and she's like, oh my God, I feel so good. You know, her pain went from like a 10 to a 1. So like a home run. So Jake's smiling. He goes, let's get some x-rays. So we get the x-rays and he puts the x-rays up on the board. And he's like, man, that bone graft looks great. It's just where it needs to be. He said that she almost passed out. She just like was staring at him for a little bit and then just exploded about the bone. Just say, what bone? What are you talking about? Just starts absolutely like, I don't know. I like, again, I'm not like trying to talk bad. I just start freaking out. I mean, there's no other way. It's a freak out. So if I try to minimize it, you don't understand like what freaking out means. All right. And then she freaked out. My physician assistant is like, I don't even know what's going on here. She goes out into the waiting area. It's a true story. Into the waiting area, with all the patients waiting there to see my PA, and we have a very busy clinic, so you can imagine this is a full waiting room, and is screaming, get the bone out of my neck. You could imagine everybody at my clinic is completely mortified. They don't even know what to do. I get a call. I'm just minding my business, doing whatever. I get a call about all this. You could imagine, I mean, I like my hard drive. I don't even know what to do. Like, this is very unusual, but I was obviously extremely anxious about it. You know, was losing sleep. I was trying to call the patient. No answer. No, she's not getting back to us. So everybody is in a very bad place here, and I don't know what to do. And as a physician, this really affects me. I was devastated by it. So anyway, we kept calling her and calling her and calling her. Finally, she agrees to see my partner, because she wants to get this thing out. She does not want to talk to me. She's pissed. She doesn't want to talk to me, even though, like, honestly, I have zero recollection of this. And again, she didn't tell anybody. But then that's what's making it even worse, because I can't do anything. I'm powerless. As a surgeon, it's all about, I want to be empowered. I can, do things. I can heal people. I can make recommendations. In this case, I have nothing to do. Finally, so she ends up seeing my partner. And he kind of talks to her and says, this makes no sense. Like, why would you want to do that? You're doing well. And so she's like, no, I need it out. I need it out. I need it out. So he spent a couple hours with her, really trying to explain to her that it's not medically indicated to do more surgery on her because she's doing fantastic. It's not like she was doing poor and we needed to fix something. She's great. You can't be better from an operation like that. So she's going to think about it, but she wants to be scheduled to have this bone graft out. All right. I told my staff, call her. I need to see this lady. I need to see this lady. I need to see this lady. Eventually, she does agree to see me. And I could tell you, I hadn't been sleeping for a long time, and that's not good. Now, luckily, I can deal with no sleep. This is part of our training, so it wasn't like it was affecting patient care, but it was certainly affecting my mentality, and I wasn't the happiest, person, in that time, and I was super stressed out and anxious, right? And I have, like, a lot of other people, to take care of and treat. So anyway, eventually she agrees to meet with me, and that was obviously a big load off. Obviously a little nervous because I have to meet with her, like, what am I going to say? How are we going to, frame this, whatever. But anyway, I felt a lot better because now I'm a little bit empowered. At least, okay, I can talk to her. It sounds like maybe we can reason with her and we can move on. Before she sees me, it turns out that she's working with her pastor. Now, she was part of this interesting sect that's very different. It's not Jehovah's Witness, none of those things. It's a very small church. They have their own beliefs, and somehow she interpreted that one of the beliefs was she can't have bone based on some Bible verse. So she's working with her pastor. The whole congregation is praying over her. They're doing all this great stuff. I believe in all this stuff. I believe in the power of prayer, intention. For those of you that are not religious, power of intent. We'll call it the power of intention, right? The power of the universe. So anyway, they're all praying for her. The pastor, at some point, is able to, because obviously he's like, his recommendation is like, why would you have more surgery? Like this is, so he wants to figure out like how we can like change her mindset and her mentality. Eventually he finds a Bible verse that is, and I wish I had this Bible verse, and I just can't remember it. I should have wrote it down. There was a lot of other stuff going on when all these things, was going on. But anyway, he finds a passage in the Bible supporting the use of bone, to be put in the body, right? And this helped her. And this all happened right before she saw me. So she saw me again before she was 2 months after her surgery. So she meets with me. We have a nice conversation. I profusely apologize for 10 minutes. She's actually very understanding after she's like, no, I know. I know that you didn't, like, you had no idea clearly, and I didn't tell anybody, and I talked to your partner, and I talked to my pastor, and she had made peace with the fact that she had this in there. And clearly she was very happy, right? She didn't have any pain at this point. She's a happy camper in that regard. So I said, you know what? After we had this conversation, I said, let's get an x-ray. I'm hoping we're not going to have the same, event happen. I said, let's get an x-ray. And so we put her through the x-ray. She comes back in. And this is with the time where we had like the manual x-rays. Like we print out the x-rays, we put them up on the x-ray board. So, this is quite a while ago. It's been quite a while since we've had those. And so I get the x-ray tech comes back and says, here's your x-ray. Boom. I put it up. I turn around. I look at the x-ray. And now all the color goes out of from me. And so she's looking at me and thinking, like, why is this man not speaking? Right? So I'm looking at this thing, and I don't even know what I'm looking at. So the surgery we had done has been totally changed. I swear. Like this is like whatever. I'm gonna do an episode with my physician assistant because we could tell the story better together because he was part of this whole thing. I look up the bone graft that we had put in, this piece of cadaver bone, okay, was not there. She wasn't even at 2 months after surgery. It was not there. None of it. Zero. There is a special type of bone that I used to use at that time that actually they put these two little dots in there, and it's cortical bone. So cortical bone specifically does not get chewed up by the body for a long, long time, and so that you could see exactly where the graft is if it moves or something like that. But it's very helpful to have that because it just tells you, even if there's a little bit of motion, it's a good way to see what's going on. Gone. Nothing. She looked like somebody who had had a fusion 10 years ago. That's how much her bone had remodeled. I had never seen anything 1% of the way of the healing that she had in her neck. Nothing. No, I never seen anything like that. And so it took me a little while to speak. And of course, I told her, I was like, you do not have a bone graft in your neck anymore. Your body has taken it and gotten rid of it 100%. You are healed like somebody who has had the surgery 10 years ago. Rivers of tears down this lady's. I mean, hugs, rivers, rejoicing. Of course, I was very emotional at the time. It's a very emotional experience. This is like one of the most emotional experiences that I've had in a positive way in my career. Of course, I call everyone I know afterwards. I'm like, I don't even know like what just happened. I call my PA. He is like beyond like so. This is why do I tell this story? It's because this story is for the understanding that the power of intention and then the power of intentions of others coming in and the power of the universe or God or whatever, however you frame this thing that is greater than us, coming together to create a level of healing that it's just not possible. So, I would call it a miracle, because miracles can mean a lot of things, to a lot of people. I mean, like, it's a miracle. You can call it the power of intention, the power of prayer, the power of her own belief, the power of her pastor, the power of my prayers for her. Because I can tell you who was praying the hardest for this lady. It was me, right? And for some selfish reasons too. And so when you take stories like that, and I've got more for you guys. There'll be a lot more is coming. I have so many different, stories of healing, but this is one that can impact across, again, like what you believe in, there's something for everyone in this story. And it completely changed me personally, because it just makes you just realize, where you are at this moment can be radically changed. And that is, you can radically change your relationship with your children. You can radically change your health. You can radically change the type of person that you are, right? You can do all of these things if you have the power of intention, and then it can be magnified if you kind of call on the universe, other people, the people that are close around you to just also support you and be there for you. Like the stuff that is possible is incredible. And I could tell you, as a surgeon, having done 10,000 surgeries and taking care of tens of thousands of patients, the stories of healing I see, and what I'm trying to do now is really take these messages of things that I've seen, mindsets that I've seen, work, and then translate them into helping you and your families. Number one, obviously, with your health, and wellness, because this is an area that I've been in my whole life, but also the mindset of resilience, of overcoming, of the power of intention, and then really trying to help people that are struggling, whether it be struggling in their career path, struggling in their life, struggling because they've just come out of prison, struggling because they're a veteran and they don't know what to do. And these messages of you can be in the horrible places and then there can be a transformation and you can get to these amazing places is something that taking stories like this, just taking just the summary of everything I see with people and then translating it into healing in any way you mean it, again, whether it be, personal, social, spiritual, whatever. I think that this is, a mission that can really help. So let me just tell you how I take this story and translate it into the type of doctor that I am, the type of doctor that I've become. So I always talk about it in the book, right? I was in an early phase as a surgeon. Your focus has to be absolutely learning your craft, doing as many cases as you can, and becoming great at doing the surgeries. It's hard to focus on other things when you don't have the experience, right? So that's the early phases, right? But then, and some people don't get over that, right? That's all they do. They're just technicians. They do your surgery and that's it. But for me, it was a huge transformation. So then it's stories like hers and so many other, things that then translated into how, as a physician, okay, can I help you guys to overcome your own personal struggles and things that are going on, whether it be health or things that are even going on in your own lives? Because I think that as physicians, we're in a unique position where people tell us all these things. How do we end up helping them? So I can tell you the number one thing that I want to preach to my colleagues, to people that are in the healthcare industry and this and that. It's just so important, right? We always talk about chronic diseases, all these things. People are coming to us for hope. This is critical. And so when they're coming to us for hope, I want people, no matter how dire the situation is, and if we all did this, I'm telling you, it would just change the thing, because hope is so healing to people. So if they're coming to us for hope, we can do one of two things, okay? We can either provide them with our own personal stories of resilience, overcoming. When I say personal, I mean personal, like what we've seen. I mean, certainly we can talk about our personal stories if it's relevant, but it's about like what we've seen with other patients that have similar things, or outside, or whatever. You could use whatever. You could use quotes. We're all going to have a different way to do it. But we want to take and frame their things like, we're listening to you, we hear you, we understand what you've been through, we understand your situation, and now how can we move forward? We can help them find their why, their reason for being, and just think about all these ways to move them forward. The difference between leaving them hopeful and leaving them hopeless may be the difference. We may be putting them on the path to healing versus a path to complete disaster. And so how do we take these stories? And for me, obviously I have my own personal things that I come with. This is for everybody. How do we take these things and frame it in a way that people can have hope? Now, the flip side of that is hopelessness. And I started with that in the thing. And obviously my whole thing is all about hope. I started about the hopelessness of the moment, of what's going on in Minnesota, all this other stuff. So I know what hopelessness is. But you know where you don't want to find hopelessness? You don't want to find hopelessness like in the doctor's office. That's bad. It's not, I don't even want to call it a pet peeve. I have other words, but we're going to be PG today. Okay? I cannot tell you how many people come in and the first thing they want to talk about is how they've been blown off. How literally sometimes they've been made fun of. They've had either metaphorical or literal eye rolls at them for things that they said, or kind of theories that they had about their own health and their own life. They've been told things like, and I'm going to tell you that just a patient just told me this so a mom, so it wasn't the patient, it was the mom of the patient, has a pulmonary condition. And the pulmonologist came into the hospital when this person was admitted. And the pulmonologist walked in, and here's how the visit went. I'm sorry, ma'am, we looked at your stuff. You've probably got like 3 months to live. There's nothing we can do. So there's no point of treating you. And the pulmonologist just walks out. Okay. That pulmonologist, I would put them in detention. I would put them in physician detention. And I wouldn't let them out until we reverse that and tell them you're never going to do this again. That is devastating, to people. And that person has since gotten help. And guess what? They're a year and a half later, and they're still with us. And they're still being treated, right? Because they went and they found hope. And I am telling you that coming in and changing people's mind to hopefulness and their mindset to where they can feel like they can be part of their own story, part of their healing, part of managing their lives, part of being CEOs of their own health. Again, going back to my book, right? If you empower them to feel like there's a difference, to feel like they're more likely to go through the therapies you recommend, they're more likely to stick on a scheduled, medications, they're more likely not to, abuse medications, they're more likely to follow through on anything else that you ask them to do, but more importantly, they're more likely to change their lifestyles and their behaviors. If you can correlate it with them, they're more likely to pick up, things that are going to help them with their mental and spiritual health. They're more likely, if they have hope, to go to that psychiatry appointment or psychology appointment, because now there's a reason for that. Because some people are so desperate, they're so down, they don't want to do anything. They're trapped in that anxiety that I talked to you about before, and they cannot move. They're paralyzed. Guess what? You give them hope, all of a sudden they start to move forward. They start to make decisions that are going to, to really to help them. So again, if we go back to the story of the woman and the healing and the power of intention and the universe and the mirror, all this other stuff, and then magnify that with so many other patients who have been able to reverse chronic diseases and come back from horrific accidents and having had surgeries and spinal cord injuries and brain tumors and brain bleeds and all these other things. I mean, we are surrounded by change and positivity and all these other things. So let's choose to go in the direction of positivity and hope and good stuff. And let's get away from the anxiety and the world is falling and bad things happen in threes and all these other things that we say that keep us trapped in these loops. And all of that is to say it's all part of this hopelessness that I think is contributing to our rising chronic disease issue. You cannot throw more money at it. You have to change the mindset and the mentality. Otherwise, we cannot move forward for healing. All this other stuff I can tell you all the technical stuff to do. If you're hopeless and depressed, you're not going to do it. We could talk about red light and diet and this. People are not going to do it. You have to give them hope, and then maybe they will move forward with that. So we'll wrap this up on the other side of the break. This is AM 950 Radio. I'm Dr. Sinicropi, and you are on Recharging the Human Battery. All right, back we are on Recharging the Human Battery Radio. This is Dr. Sinicropi. This is AM 950. And I'm listen, first of all, I want to say thank you for listening, to my rant and my thoughts. I'm really just doing this to help you guys to move forward. I would love to know. I just really, don't be shy. Please put your comments in, like below where you watch the videos, if you're going on the channel to watch these videos, because it's the comments that really tell me what is resonating with you the most and what you want to hear from me, because I just want to make sure if something is just like unbelievable and it making such an impact for people, we really want to focus on that, because obviously if it's resonating with a lot of people, that's really what we need to focus on. Because like I said, I can talk about all these other strategies and put together incredible 1-year plans for you for health and wellness, but again, if you're stuck in this in a hopeless place, it's very difficult. People are not going to do it. So we have to change their mindset, as physicians, as healers. We almost have to be mindset coaches so that then people break through and really take care of their health, become CEOs of their health. And so you guys really telling me what you want to hear more of. I take this stuff seriously. If you follow me on social media, you can follow me at Instagram at Dr. Stefano MD. And I respond to all my own comments. Okay, negative or positive. You post whatever you want. If you don't like something I say, please let me know, and then we'll have a conversation about it. And then maybe I'll make a post about your, like what you're posting. So, listen. All that being said, we want to get you in a hopeful place. I want these miracles to happen to all of us. There's little everyday miracles. I'm telling you, if you just look around, if you think about things that have happened to your family, that have happened to yourself, if you really sit down in a quiet room and you think about just what happens on us every day, sometimes just getting from point A to point B is a miracle, right? You might have just escaped some horrible accident or whatever. So there's so many good things, and a lot of it is really the power of intention. We've got to make these changes, but I have to get you guys hopeful first. But then, and I'm going to talk about this on the next episode, okay? We've got to put in the work. Okay, it's not enough just to be hopeful and just, yes, the power of intention is good, but we've got to put in the work. For those of you that are religious, a lot of you grew up in households that say, right, God helps those that help themselves. You do not have to be a believer to understand that if you're not helping yourself, you're not going to get a lot of help from everywhere else. And if that might be, meditating, prayer, intention, whatever, you've got to do the work to try to make those positive changes in my life. So, okay, one of my favorite quotes ever. We all want the magic of the miracle. We all want the magic of the miracle. We all want to be in shape. We all want to feel great. We all want to do stuff. We all want to get that next promotion. We all want to be on top. We all want to do something, right, that we want to do. I'm going to leave you with this quote, and it's going to set us up for our next episode. Like literally one of my favorite quotes ever. The magic you are looking for is in the work you are avoiding. The magic you are looking for is in the work you are avoiding. This is Chris Williamson, one of my favorite motivational guys. This magic, these miracles, whatever, like a lot of these things that we talk about, yes, obviously in that case it's a little bit different, but if we extrapolate to everything else in life, the magic of feeling well, the magic of having the bodies we want, the magic of having the mind we want, the magic of having the attention we want, the intentionality we want, it happens with work. We have to put in the work So let's be hopeful. We're going to talk about putting in the work next time. The difference between putting in the work on ourselves is the difference between living incredible, fulfilling lives and being in a desperate, miserable place where we are hopeless. So let's talk about hope. Let's talk about true wellness. Let's talk about feeling our very best selves. And let's talk about taking care of me, us, so we can take care of you, the other people that really need our help. This has been a really fun episode for me. Again, let me know what you think. This is AM 950 Radio. We're on Recharging the Human Battery. I'm your host, Dr. Stefano Sinicropi, and we will see you next week.